Morning.
Good morning.
I started to think about the chalice because Sarah talked about having bought chalice cookie cutters. Of course she did. So we began to think about the meaning of the chalice. Were we to make chalice cookies for the tree? I'd even started a poem. Of course I did. It went exactly nowhere. We wondered whether there wouldn't be an elf who made chalices for children who didn't have cookies to leave for Santa and who were afraid that Santa might not stop by their house. The poem may get done, who knows? But that's not really what the chalice is about. It's a beacon. Welcome, it says. It is the candle left in the window to light the wayfarer home. Come in. We have been waiting for you. Why, I wonder, haven't we grabbed hold of this more firmly? Why, when we say we're a welcoming and affirming congregation, do we not have a great big old chalice flag outside? Give me you're tired, you're poor, you're queer. Come here. There's acceptance, there's welcome, there's community. Where you use, there's coffee. But then I started about the real purpose of the chalice, what brought it into being. It was used as a symbol to indicate that refuge could be found within for asylum seekers. And why aren't we making use of this? This chalice is not only that warm spark within us, although it is that, it is also who we are called to be. We are to be the welcoming community. It should be our motivating impulse. Every time the chalice is lit, we should want to check to see that the doors are open and the coffee is on. Give me your Syrians. So in the year ahead, let us consider how we might use that chalice. And at the same time, recently I've been captivated by a meme going around Facebook. It's a picture of the Nativity, complete with angel, and it says something like, imagine if at this time of year we were to have an image of a Middle Eastern family fleeing in search of asylum. Now, I've never had a nativity set. I think that Tom has mom and dad's, or one of his kids does. And although I think the story of that helpless babe is another good metaphor for what we are to do in the world, to welcome peace with us as the helpless, dependent stranger. It was simply a bit farther, the crèche, that is a bit farther than my personal theology can take me. Yes, I miss my parents' tiny and delicate olive wood Mary, Joseph, and Jesus. But that's a sentimental missing. I have many friends who have buried their Joseph in their yards when trying to sell their house. But I've never wanted to own a house or sell one, so I didn't need a nativity for that reason. But when I saw that meme on Lenore's page, I thought, now that is an image that maybe we should adopt. Maybe I should have a nativity set outside my house. So Anne, who has never put religious symbols outside her door, went to the store and purchased one so I could plant a little crèche in the iron planter my landlord has placed there in hopes that I will someday grow flowers. It's there. Mary and Joseph haven't made their appearance yet, and certainly not Jesus. He has to wait till the 24th. But Jesus will get there. And I wondered if maybe all of us who believe in asylum for refugees shouldn't have a crèche outside our house, in a window or something. In the Christmas story, the offer of the stable is vitally important. We always hear about it, sing about it as a rude stable, a place where the animals slept. We see the poverty of it. But this would not have been an uncommon offer. Many centuries later, probably into the 19th century, or even the 20th, early 20th, you could still get a fairly safe and cheap place to stay in the stables, and you paid the price for safety. At that time, back then, many people lived more closely to their livelihood, their animals, than we do today. Perhaps we even treated them better. But in those times, as today, to be abroad without shelter, not simply from the night, but also from the bandits, was dangerous. Hospitality was a crucial part of the code in that era, in that place in the world. If people had no safe place to stay at night, they were fair game for rapine and robbery. Story after story in the Hebrew scriptures reminds us of this. A friend told me the other day that he had read a piece that suggested that the violence against the angel of Sodom and Gomorrah was rooted in, if you remember, they went to the door and knocked and said, "Send him out." Was rooted in the fact that those two cities had once allowed foreigners free entrance into their society, and that they had been repaid with overthrow. So from that time forward, foreigners with no ties to grant them refuge at night could be ruthlessly exploited. Continuing in the Hebrew scriptures, the first Bible I studied at seminary was the story of the concubine. I was dumbfounded by this story. I had no idea it existed. Trust me when I tell you this never made it into the common lectionary. For anyone who says to you that the Jefferson Bible is a travesty, remind them of all we do not say, all people do not say in that lectionary. So the concubine, who was never named, actually back up just a little bit. This story, Judges starts with the reminder that there came a time when there was no more king in Israel, and the people did what was good in their own eyes. And then the stories roll out. So our nameless concubine, after a long and involved story, arrive at a city late in the evening. She and her master, or the master and his horses, were invited within the compound. She was not mentioned. She was property. The horses were safe, as they had more value. Here's what happened. After they had eaten dinner, a knock came at the door, and the thieves said, "Send out this man who is here." And they said, and the host said, "Against this good man, do not do this thing. Take instead my virgin daughter and his concubine." And at that point, the master took his concubine and he thrust her out the door and he closed the door. And the story goes on. They used her and they abused her all night until it was morning. And when the morning came, she went and laid down with her hand on the threshold. And in the morning, when the master had broken his fast, he looked around for his concubine and did not see her within the house. And he went out and saw her lying there. And he said to her, "Get up, we must be going." And she made no response. So he took his concubine and he put her on a horse and he went home. There's more to the story. It's equally awful. But in the birth narrative, the crèche is not a symbol of poverty, but a symbol of safety. Joseph's family was protected from the marauders. Within the crèche, they could be safe. Mary could be safely delivered of her baby. We aren't told whether the women who owned the inn were helpful, because that is not information anyone would have found important, except for the women. Or it might have even been assumed that women would help because they did. However, it's still a big deal that the wise men came. Don't let me get started. But recently, one of our politicians made a visit to the Mideast to proclaim the camps really pretty nice places. I said to my friend, "Man, we should book a vacation there. I'll take my pearls." I never use them anyway. Right. At the same time, Sonia wrote last week. Excuse me a minute. Sonia wrote week, and for those who don't remember, Sonia is the vice president of the mosque, that her husband's cousin is working in a refugee camp. There's a woman there with 5 daughters, and none of them are able to find sanitary napkins. If you want to know if we've changed this little part of the valley, imagine our Muslim neighbors talking about sanitary products on Facebook. We did that. Go, love, period. Those people need homes and the bare necessities, and then eventually the comforts of homes. But as powerful an image as the Crèche is, still it doesn't seem the right symbol for UUs all by itself. It carries a lot of weight that some of us may not be able to or ready to embrace. What is most transformative for me about UUCSV is our community. It is this sweet and intimate community. Now at the holidays, as I said last week, we get to see the kids perform. Who has grown more proficient at piano over the year? Whose skit is hilarious? Ours, right? Who has a new cookie? On Christmas Eve, we get to see whose children have matured enough to read one of the candle stories. I belong here. Through my connections and through my history, I get to celebrate both my Christian roots and my pagan practice. In this place, I can be a whole human being. Neither the Chalice or the Crèche are interesting without the community to back it up. When we talk about asylum, people in this valley are writing to me as the UUCSV to say, Anne, what's going on? What's going on in this valley? Where do we sign up? How do we help? And when I talked about the young transgender woman, people also asked, how do we help? And at least as far as the Syrian refugees are concerned, Dawn's been doing some research for us. Thank you, Dawn. And we'll get that to you. Among other things, they're going to need toiletry bags, which we can either pack and send or simply purchase online. And there's work for us to do. But here at home, I watch us knit ourselves into one another's lives, here in church, around lunch tables and bridge tables, and on social media. It makes me happy. And we have to keep working to invite more in and help them find a place. It's wonderful. Is it enough? I'm not sure that it is. We are called in these horrible times. And yes, I do believe there's more upheaval than usual. There are more fires burning, but we are called to radical hospitality. Not just, oh, hi, come on in, but placing announcements out and about, saying to those who seem lost, do you know that we're here? There is a home. And when we think about these Syrian refugees, they have lost all they know of home. Are we radically welcoming? Because that kind of open-hearted, arms thrown wide welcome is what is needed. Come in. Actually, I got something. I was so intimidated by Kathy, I had to bring my own show and tell. In this time of strife, I want a symbol. I want a touchstone. I want something simple. I'm tired of the UUs not leading in important ways. We have important things to say. We need to be better heard. I've spent a lot of time on the website about the anti-gun violence vigil, and you will get more information from me about that today, and it's there to send an invitation out. For those who didn't see anything so far, it'll be next Sunday evening, and it will be here. Every tradition provided prayers and readings and songs, but not ours. We have some good sermons. I've read them. They're helpful. But where's our poetry? Rhythm and meter and sonority can help carry us out of grief and remembrance and into action. What are the songs that we need? brief, catchy, repetitious, meaningful. Look at what we're doing here today. State the theme, find the harmony, improv, and come back to the heart of the song. That's what we need. Why are we afraid to open up our deepest hopes and fears? And so I've started writing. I have a companion who's helping me do that. I will take some steps and I will offer them up. And hopefully that will encourage others to do the same. But still, I wanted a symbol to say that we welcome home the refugees. What could it be? I wondered if it couldn't be a chalice in a crèche. So I called our friend Jen, and she designed this for us. Nice, huh? I have a whole bunch of them for us. Sarah, blessed, organized Sarah, who, and I wouldn't have made it through, I might not have made it through this week if it hadn't been for Sarah. And Sarah, when I was having my do I jump off the bridge or push somebody else off day, Sarah found this vigil and said, look, it's a national movement, we can be part. I'm like, oh good, we wanted something else to do right before Christmas. But it's important. But Sarah insisted that we get window clings. They're coming. We ordered them. What if all of us were to put one of these in our windows and say that this place, this house of worship, our homes, all of those places are places of refuge. We are welcoming. And you who come here, you are so welcome. For whatever reason you arrive at our doors, you are welcome. And for the particular reason of being strangers in a strange land, however that is defined, you are welcome here. So help me out here. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderers, worshippers, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan, the blue buck of despair. Come, where again come. The end of the story in Judges is concluded with these words. And since that day, such a thing has never been seen in Israel. Listen, take counsel, and speak. Blessed.